The 1960s gave us more than just the hits that still play today. Beyond the famous songs were countless gems that soundtracked teenage summers and filled dance floors, only to fade from the mainstream spotlight. If you spent your youth tuning into AM radio or slow dancing at school gymnasiums, you'll recognize every note. These are 13 songs only those who grew up in the 1960s remember. Number 13, Society's Child, by Janis Ian.
One of these days I'm gonna stop my listening,
When 17-year-old Janis Ian released this haunting ballad in 1967, radio stations across America didn't know what to do with it. The song tackled interracial relationships at a time when such topics were considered too controversial for mainstream airplay. Many DJs refused to spin it, while others played it only late at night when fewer people were listening.
When she turned and said, "But honey, he's not out."
But teenagers found it anyway. They discovered it through word of mouth, shared it on underground radio stations, and made it a staple at coffee houses and folk clubs across the country. Ian's mature vocals and unflinching honesty resonated with young people who were beginning to question the social barriers their parents had accepted without question.
They say I can't see you anymore.
The song's sparse arrangement highlighted Ian's vulnerable delivery, making every word feel deeply personal. It wasn't just a protest song, it was a confession, a plea, and a mirror held up to a society struggling with change. Those who remember it recall not just the melody, but the conversations it sparked in school hallways and around dinner tables.
Baby, I'm only society's child.
Number 12, Western Union, by the Five Americans.
Western Union, da, 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 da.
The summer of 1967 belonged to many songs, but for those tuning into Top 40 radio, nothing captured the urgency of young love quite like this driving rocker from Dallas. The Five Americans created something that felt both familiar and fresh, with a guitar riff that seemed to telegraph its own message of romantic desperation.
Now you've gone away, and how it's sad to say you've gone.
Radio programmers loved its energy and clean production, giving it heavy rotation during the crucial after-school and early evening hours when teenagers were most likely to be listening. The song climbed steadily up the charts, becoming a regional phenomenon before breaking nationally.
Tell them just had to say, we've learned your lesson all the way.
What made it special wasn't just its infectious beat, but its perfect timing. Released during the height of the psychedelic movement, it proved that straightforward rock and roll still had the power to move crowds and fill dance floors. High school students across the Midwest and South made it their anthem, requesting it at sock hops and local Battle of the Bands competitions. The song's success was brief but intense, burning bright for a few months before fading as musical tastes shifted toward more experimental sounds. But for those who experienced its initial impact, it remains frozen in time, forever connected to summer nights and the thrill of young romance.
Western Union, da, 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 da.
Number 11, Time of the Season, by the Zombies. By 1968, the Zombies had already disbanded, unaware that they were about to score their biggest American hit. This sultry, hypnotic track from their final album found its way to radio stations almost by accident, picked up by DJs who were drawn to its unique blend of rock and soul.
What's your name? What's your name? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
The song's distinctive keyboard intro and Rod Argent's moody vocals created an atmosphere unlike anything else on the radio. It wasn't quite psychedelic rock, wasn't quite R&B, but existed in some magical space between genres that perfectly captured the experimental spirit of the late 60s.
Tell it to me slowly, tell you why.
College radio stations embraced it first, playing it during late-night shows, when the usual format restrictions were relaxed. From there, it spread to progressive FM stations and eventually broke through to AM radio, where it became a surprise hit despite the band's absence from the American music scene. The irony wasn't lost on those who followed it closely. Here was a British group that had dissolved, watching their most successful song climb the American charts from across the ocean. It became a cult favorite, the kind of song that true music fans use to separate themselves from casual listeners.
Of the season for love.
Number 10. Quick Joey Small by the Casonets Cats, Singing Orchestral Circus. The bubblegum music craze of the late 60s produced many forgettable singles, but this 1968 novelty hit stood apart with its manic energy and irresistible hook. Created by the same production team behind the 1910 Fruit Gum Company and the Ohio Express, it represented bubblegum music at its most unhinged. The song told the story of Joey Small running through the city, pursued by an increasingly chaotic cast of characters. Its breakneck pace and cartoonish sound effects made it feel like a musical comic strip come to life. Radio DJs loved its 2-minute burst of pure fun, and it became a staple on stations targeting younger listeners. What seemed like throwaway entertainment actually showcased sophisticated studio techniques. The producers layered multiple vocal tracks, sound effects, and instrumental elements to create a wall of organized chaos that was remarkably complex beneath its simple surface. Kids ate it up, requesting it constantly and singing along with its tongue-twisting verses. It represented everything that serious music critics dismissed about the era. Yet its unbridled joy and creativity embodied the playful spirit that made the late 60s such a vibrant time for popular music. Number 9. Indian Lake by the Cowsills. The Cowsills were America's answer to the Partridge Family, except they were real, and they could actually play their instruments. This gentle, harmonious track from 1968 showcased the family band at their most appealing, with tight vocal arrangements and an irresistible melody that seemed tailor-made for summer radio. The song painted a picture of simple pleasures and innocent romance, themes that felt increasingly rare as the decade grew more turbulent. Its references to swimming holes and moonlit nights evoked a nostalgic America that existed more in memory than reality, but that made it no less appealing to listeners seeking comfort in familiar imagery. Radio stations across the country added it to their regular rotation, and it became particularly popular in smaller markets where its wholesome message resonated with local audiences. The Cowsills' natural family harmony gave it an authenticity that manufactured groups couldn't match. The song's success helped establish the Cowsills as television personalities and recording artists, leading to their brief but memorable career as America's favorite musical family. For those who remember it, the song remains a perfect time capsule of late 60s optimism, before the decade's idealism gave way to harder realities. Number 8. Classical Gas by Mason Williams. When this instrumental hit reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1968, it proved that American audiences were hungry for something different. Mason Williams, a writer for the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, created a piece that was simultaneously sophisticated and accessible, bridging the gap between classical music and popular culture. The song's intricate guitar work and orchestral arrangement made it a favorite among musicians and music teachers who appreciated its technical complexity. But its catchy melody and energetic rhythm made it equally appealing to general audiences who simply enjoyed its uplifting sound. Radio programmers initially weren't sure how to categorize it. Too complex for top 40, too contemporary for easy listening, it found its home on progressive FM stations and classical music programs. The song's success helped establish instrumental music as a viable commercial category during an era dominated by vocal artists. Its influence extended beyond radio play. Music educators used it to introduce students to more complex musical forms, while guitar players spent hours learning its challenging finger-picking patterns. The song became a bridge between different musical worlds, proving that audiences were more sophisticated than industry executives often assumed. Number 7. Venus by Shocking Blue. This hypnotic Dutch rock song became an unlikely American hit in 1970, though it was recorded in 1969 and captured the psychedelic spirit of the late 60s. The band's distinctive sound, anchored by Mariska Veres's powerful vocals and Robbie Van Leeuwen's mysterious guitar work, created something that felt both exotic and familiar to American ears. The song's mythological references and Eastern-influenced melody gave it an otherworldly quality that set it apart from typical rock fare. Radio DJs were initially unsure about its commercial potential, but listener response was overwhelmingly positive, especially among college students and young adults who were drawn to its hypnotic groove.
She's got it. Yeah, baby, she's got it.
What made it particularly memorable was its unique vocal style. Veres delivered the mystical lyrics with a combination of power and mystery that was rare in popular music, creating an atmosphere that was both sensual and spiritual. The song's success helped open American radio to more international artists. Its impact was immediate, but relatively brief in the mainstream, though it continued to find new audiences through album-oriented rock stations and progressive FM programming. The song became a favorite of those who prided themselves on discovering music that was slightly left of center.
I'm your Venus, I'm your fire, your desire.
Number 6. In the Year 2525 by Zager and Evans. Perhaps no song better captured the apocalyptic anxieties lurking beneath the surface of 60s idealism than this haunting prophecy from Nebraska duo Zager and Evans. Released in 1969, it painted a disturbing picture of humanity's technological future, climbing to number 1 despite its deeply unsettling message. The song's success was remarkable given its dark subject matter. Radio stations that typically avoided controversial content found themselves unable to resist its hypnotic melody and thought-provoking lyrics. It sparked conversations in high school classrooms and college dorms about the direction of human civilization. What made it resonate wasn't just its science fiction elements, but its underlying concern about the pace of technological change. Written during an era of rapid social and scientific advancement, it voiced fears that many people felt but couldn't articulate about losing their humanity to progress. The duo never matched its success, but they didn't need to. This single song perfectly captured a moment in time when optimism about the future was beginning to mix with genuine concern about where humanity was heading. It became a touchstone for anyone who worried that progress might come at too high a price. Number 5. Abraham, Martin and John by Dion.
My old friend John, can you...
By 1968, Dion DiMucci had successfully reinvented himself from teen idol to thoughtful balladeer, and this tribute to fallen leaders became his most meaningful artistic statement. The song honored Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., and John F. Kennedy, connecting their legacies during a year that saw the assassinations of King and Robert Kennedy.
See my old friend Martin, can you...
Radio stations initially approached it carefully, unsure how audiences would respond to such direct political content. But the song's gentle melody and Dion's sincere delivery made its message accessible rather than preachy. It became a healing presence on radio during one of the most turbulent years in American history.
Can you tell me where he's gone?
The song's success represented something rare in popular music, a direct engagement with serious political themes that managed to be both respectful and commercially successful. It proved that audiences were ready for music that acknowledged the weight of current events rather than escaping from them.
See my old friend Bobby. Can you?
For those who lived through 1968, the song remains inseparable from that difficult year's events. It provided a moment of reflection and mourning that helped process the grief and confusion that many Americans were feeling about the direction of their country.
Abraham, Martin, and John.
Number 4. Harper Valley PTA by Jeannie C. Riley.
Was signed by the Secretary, Harper Valley PTA.
This story song became an unlikely crossover hit in 1968, climbing to number 1 on both country and pop charts with its tale of small-town hypocrisy and female empowerment. Riley's dramatic delivery turned what could have been a simple novelty song into a powerful statement about social conformity and individual courage.
Well, it happened that the PTA was gonna meet that very after.
The song's narrative struck a nerve with listeners who recognized the characters and situations from their own communities. Its portrayal of judgmental authority figures, and the woman who stood up to them, resonated especially strongly with female listeners who were beginning to question traditional social expectations.
I'd like to address this meeting of the Harper Valley PTA.
Radio programmers loved its storytelling structure and clear moral message, giving it heavy rotation across multiple formats. The song's success helped establish the story song as a viable commercial category and paved the way for other narrative-driven hits.
Shouldn't Widow Jones be told to keep her window shades up or completely down?
What made it particularly memorable was its perfect timing. Released during a period of significant social change, it provided a framework for understanding conflicts between traditional values and individual freedom that many people were experiencing in their own lives.
Well, this is just a little Peyton place and you're all Harper Valley hypocrites.
Number 3. Love Child by Diana Ross and the Supremes. This socially conscious single from late 1968 marked a significant departure for the Supremes, who had built their reputation on romantic ballads and up-tempo dance numbers. The song directly addressed the stigma surrounding children born outside of marriage, a topic that was rarely discussed in popular music. The decision to record such controversial material reflected both the group's artistic growth and their awareness of changing social attitudes. Radio stations initially worried about potential backlash, but listener response was overwhelmingly supportive, and the song became their biggest hit in over a year. What set it apart was its combination of social commentary and irresistible Motown production. The track managed to be both message music and dance floor filler, proving that entertainment and social awareness didn't have to be mutually exclusive. The song's success helped establish Diana Ross as more than just a pop singer, positioning her as an artist willing to tackle difficult subjects. It also demonstrated Motown's evolution from a purely commercial enterprise to a label that could address serious social issues without losing its popular appeal. Number 2. White Room by Cream. This psychedelic masterpiece from 1968 represented the peak of Cream's artistic achievement, combining Eric Clapton's innovative guitar work with Jack Bruce's powerful vocals and Ginger Baker's dynamic drumming. The song's surreal lyrics and complex musical structure made it a favorite among serious rock fans. Progressive FM stations embraced it immediately, playing both the full album version and the shorter single edit. The song's layers of meaning and musical sophistication made it perfect for the emerging album-oriented rock format that was beginning to challenge Top 40's dominance.
At the party, she was kindness.
What made it particularly compelling was its emotional intensity. Despite its abstract lyrics and complex arrangement, the song conveyed a powerful sense of longing and isolation that connected with listeners on a visceral level. It became an anthem for those who felt alienated from mainstream culture. The song's influence extended far beyond its initial success. Guitar players studied Clapton's innovative techniques, while the song's overall structure influenced countless rock bands who were looking to expand beyond traditional pop song formats.
Goodbye windows, tired starving.
Number 1. Get Together by the Youngbloods.
Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love.
Originally recorded by the Kingston Trio, this gentle plea for peace and understanding found its perfect interpreters in the Youngbloods, whose 1967 version transformed it into an anthem for the counterculture movement. The song's message of love conquering division resonated powerfully during one of the most turbulent periods in American history.
Try to love one another right now.
The track's initial release received modest attention, but it found new life as underground radio stations began featuring it during their late-night programming. Its organic spread through word of mouth and college radio gave it an authenticity that manufactured hits couldn't match.
You hold the key to love and fear.
What made it special was its gentle approach to social change. Rather than preaching or demanding, it simply suggested that people could choose love over hate, understanding over conflict. This message felt revolutionary without being threatening, appealing to listeners across generational and political lines.
Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get.
The song became the unofficial anthem of the peace movement, played at rallies, festivals, and gatherings where people came together to envision a better world. Its enduring popularity proved that sometimes the most powerful statements are also the gentlest ones.
Smile on your brother, everybody get together. Try to love.
Radio stations that programmed it found themselves fielding constant requests from listeners who had heard it once and needed to hear it again. It became one of those rare songs that seemed to improve with each listening, revealing new layers of meaning and musical beauty.
Right now.
These 13 songs represent more than just forgotten hits from the 1960s. They capture the spirit of an era when music meant everything to the people who lived it, when discovering a new song felt like uncovering a secret treasure, and when radio was the soundtrack to daily life. Each of these tracks tells a story not just through its lyrics, but through its journey from recording studio to radio station, to the hearts and memories of those who heard it during that magical decade. They remind us that the 60s weren't just about the famous songs that still get played today, but about the hundreds of smaller moments when the perfect song appeared at exactly the right time. For those who remember these songs, hearing them again is like opening a time capsule filled with images of high school dances, summer road trips, first loves, and endless possibilities. They prove that sometimes the songs that matter most aren't the ones that everyone remembers, but the ones that only you and your generation can truly understand. The beauty of these forgotten gems lies not just in their musical qualities, but in their ability to transport us back to specific moments in time. Each one carries with it the weight of personal history, the soundtrack to teenage summers, school dances, first dates, and long car rides with friends. They represent a time when music discovery was a more intimate experience, when hearing a new song required patience and luck, and when finding something special felt like a personal victory. These songs also remind us of how different the music industry was during the 1960s. Regional radio stations had real power to break records. Underground DJs could introduce audiences to music that challenged social norms, and there was room for experimentation and risk-taking that seems almost impossible in today's market-driven environment. The teenagers who first heard these songs are now grandparents, but the emotions these melodies evoke remain as fresh as ever. They serve as bridges between generations, connecting the energy and optimism of youth with the wisdom and perspective that comes with experience. They remind us that music isn't just entertainment, but a form of time travel that can instantly transport us back to who we were and what we felt during the most formative years of our lives. If this trip down memory lane brought back some cherished memories, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel for more musical journeys through the decades that shaped our lives. And let us know in the comments which of these songs holds the most special memories for you, and what moments from your past they bring flooding back.